Good afternoon, everyone. Char Nolan. And guess what? We will be back in a moment.
Welcome to the Blue Zones cooking course. My name is Dan Butner. I am the founder of Blue Zones. I'm excited about taking the wisdom of the longest lived cultures in the world and putting it to work not only in your kitchen, but in the lives of your family, your friends, and your clients. When it comes to longevity, the most important ingredient is taste. When you are done with this, you're going to know how to cook to live to be 100. Join us on this journey around the world on the quest for maniacally delicious food that may just help you live to 100.
And I'm back just like that. Modern age technology and working with a wonderful, wonderful producer like Patrick always makes my day. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Char Nolan with you today, almost from the city of brotherly love. Happy to be here with you today. I know many of you may have been anticipating the lovely Dan Merrick, who was unable to make this event. So I am his designated hitter for today. And it's nice to see all of you. Before we jump into these great questions, before the Thursday holiday begins, I did want to just talk about two really quick things. And one of them is not my frying pan, but this is a great book. It's called Body on Fire. And the two physicians who wrote the book are Dr. Monica Agarwal. She's a preventive cardiologist in Florida at the University of Florida. And her best friend and colleague is Dr. Jody Rouxbe. And she practices in Maryland. This is a wonderful cookbook. I use a lot of the recipes, especially for the oil-free salad dressings, which I'm absolutely wild about. And today I had a Thanksgiving dinner for unhoused citizens in a part of Philadelphia, and I made the Caesar kale salad dressing, and everyone ate gobs and gobs of kale. So the recipes are great. They're easy to follow. They won't break the bank. And both Monica and Jody are mothers, and they're busy. And I also should point out to you, maybe some of you know or don't know, but Dr. Agarwal is a Plant Pro grad of Rouxbe. So not only is she able to speak from her experience as a cardiologist and a busy mom, but she also has her Rouxbe background behind her. So she's lovely, and I think the world of her. So I hope that you will look into the book and everything else like that. So let's get into the questions, and I'm sure that we'll have lots of things to discuss. I will ask for your forgiveness today because I'm working with a new computer. So I may or may not at some point in time remove my glasses so that I can visually see the screen better. And let's get to the first question. Excuse me. What can you offer in cooking for one, minimizing waste and cost? That is a very good question. And I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why. I'm going to backtrack. And maybe you know that Rouxbe offers a course from the James Beard Foundation. It's called Waste Not. The course is free. And it is the total eye-opener in terms of practicing full food utilization, how not to have waste in your pantry and in your refrigerator. I took the course several years ago, and it was a real eye-opener in terms of being a better menu planner in my home, having dishes that are related to one another but not necessarily the same. I'll give you an example. You batch cook a bunch of baked potatoes. My goodness, that sounds like a tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast. But you batch cook 5 pounds of sweet potatoes, and one night you may have them with a mango salsa. And one night you might have them as a simple baked potato, but then you might use them to make a dessert, or you might use them to make a sweet potato hummus. So it's looking at food in a global way so that you can maximize the use of that food without having any leftovers. And I'll give you an example. I have about a half a cup of unused pumpkin in my refrigerator, and I have a little container of hummus that probably would fit like 1 carrot stick on it. So after this, I'm going to put the two of them together and make a pumpkin hummus. maybe put a little cinnamon in it and a little bit of ginger to spark something up. So it's always thinking about what can I do so this doesn't go to waste. But then beyond that, thinking of what can I do to make this taste really, really good? Because sometimes we get very creative and make these concoctions that really aren't good. And I'm guilty of that when I was thinking about my first plant-based Thanksgiving, 15 Thanksgivings ago, and I didn't really know how to cook plant-based without oil, salt, and sugar. And I pretended that everything was delicious. But then uh, after reading lots of books and going to lots of seminars and also being a Rouxbe grad, I feel really, really comfortable, not only in my own kitchen, but also professional kitchens as well. So I hope that that has been helpful to you. And thanks for asking that question. And Patrick has posted the link to Waste Not. It's a fascinating course. You will learn just so much being a part of it. This is from Kathy. She's wondering if I can provide suggestions for tasty brunch dishes that are economical, vegan, and gluten-free. Thank you. Well, you're very welcome. Well, I think I may have shared on a previous live event that I love grocery stores. And when I was recently in Italy, I went to grocery stores. And the time my sister and I went to London, I went to every grocery store because I love grocery stores. So a lot of grocery stores nowadays are selling cold bakery and cold fresh produce. So there's a rack at my local grocery store that is a metro rack, and it's about 6 feet tall, and it's layered with bagged fruit and vegetables that might not be ready for prime time, but certainly would be really good for me, for example, to take that bunch of apples and either bake them or make applesauce or make a, excuse me, like an apple crisp. And regarding it being gluten-free, I think by now most of us know that Bob's Red Mill is one of the few commercial oatmeals that is also labeled gluten-free because he has 2 separate processing plants. I have noticed recently on a trip to Walmart that Quaker Oats now has a special gluten-free blend, and it's labeled and very expensive. So I like Bob's Red Mill, as they say, do what you know. So there's an apple crisp, there's apple puree. Today at the farm, I made a pumpkin chiffon pudding, and all it was tofu and some maple syrup and tofu, pumpkin, and maple syrup, essentially, and then some of those spices, and just threw it into the food processor. So I think it's looking at things that you know and things that you like, embracing things that you love to do. And if you have a cookbook that you really love, stick with that cookbook. Or if you're feeling extremely inventive, there are lots of things that you can do. I understand cost being a factor. Only buy things on sale if they're going to be a use to you. You can utilize your freezer. I do freeze tofu when it's on sale. There are lots and lots of things that you can do. So I think I'd take an apple crisp to wherever you are going. And if you are going to make the crisp part without oil or a margarine or whatever. I use fruit juice to help make those crumbs come together, and it works perfectly well. So have fun at your brunch, and let us hear back from you to see how that went for you. This is from Catherine. She has a new set of pots. And I'm so proud of you for reading the instructions. The instructions said, do not heat the pans when they are empty. And how does she get them to temperature? So here's what I'm going to say. I don't know what kind of pots you have. I don't know if they have some kind of miracle nonstick part to them. But in every kitchen, aside from your regular pots and pans, a good old stainless steel saute pan like this. I think I got it at TJ Maxx or one of those places. It wasn't expensive. It has a signature of somebody who I never heard of. But I use this, for example, when I do the no oil mushroom saute, and it works like a dream. The other thing is, I don't know if you're cooking on induction or gas or electric, And so I would think that you kind of have to know your stove well. And then the other part of it is that that mercury water ball test works best in stainless steel, but you can sort of listen to how food sounds. If your food is sounding very, very sizzly, your heat might be too hot, so you would want to turn it down a little bit. And I'm going to tell you how I only know this. When my father was in his mid 50s, he lost his eyesight and he went to the Lighthouse, which on Long Island, where I grew up, is a place that rehabilitates people with visual impairments. And he went to cooking school and he learned to cook by sound. So when food is noisy, your heat is too hot, so you might want to turn it down a little bit. But if you want to provide us a little bit more information about your pots and pans, I'm not an expert, but this has never failed from my experience. So thank you so much for your question. That's a really good one. This question is, how long should you keep spices? So Patrick and I have often spoken about sort of having a roving camera so I can show you my spice drawer, which is right here. The best thing to do is get a Sharpie or a marker, magic marker or whatever. And when you buy it and bring it home, write down 1123. And when it rolls around to 1124, you'll look at the bottom of it and you go, oh my gosh, this pumpkin spice is a year old and it's going to lose some of its freshness. The other part of it, and Chef Barton spoke about this last week on his live event about buying good spices. For example, I can go to a $1.25 store and buy some spices there, but I don't feel as though they are pure. Whereas buying them from a reputable spice dealership, like I'm going to name one. Let's see. Penzies. I happen to like Penzies. They do a nice job. But the other thing I do is save my old spice jars and I go to my local grocery store. I see Fran Costigan peeking in the window here. We both like a local grocery store that goes from Massachusetts to Maryland called Mom's Organic Market. And they have an organic spice section where you buy by the ounce. So I prefer to buy in smaller amounts so that I don't have a 1.3 ounce bottle of turmeric hanging around for longer than it should be. Date them, buy them in bulk, and get them from a reputable company. And I think you'll see a difference in the taste of your food as well. So thanks for that great question. Next up is Chef Fran. Chef Fran walked me off a cliff last night because I had to make dessert for 60 people. And I found this recipe. I think I told you it was, pumpkin and simply tofu. But Fran, guess what? I did not add the chia because I knew that my population wouldn't think highly of the appearance of chia seeds. And overnight in the refrigerator, everything came together and the pumpkin chiffon pudding pie-ettes tartlets worked out great. So thanks for walking me off the cliff. Chef Fran and I are both very excited today because our hometown Philadelphia Eagles won the game last night after the first two quarters seemed rather dismal. We both signed off on our phones saying, good night, see you tomorrow, take care at 10 o'clock. So go Eagles. So Fran, thanks for the birthday wishes. Yes, I did have another birthday yesterday. And as my mother used to say, the days are long and the years are short. And she was certainly correct. Any sweet treat did you? I did have a sweet treat on my birthday. And I took the sweet treats to the farm today to share with others. But my friends at Row House Grocery, and Fran knows how much I love this little grocery store that's actually in what would have been someone's living room. So check out what Fran, we posted on our social media, a beautiful chocolate tart that she's making to take along with a savory dish that we hope to also post for you to see. So thank you, Fran, for the kind wishes, and have a wonderful time in Bucks County this week with your family. Thanks for the birthday wishes. So this is from Linda, and she's whole food plant-based. She's used to eating a wide variety of vegetables. That's always a good thing. And it's good that you like a wide variety of them. She's limited in what she can get fresh versus frozen. We spoke a few weeks ago how Clarence Birdseye was a genius when he realized that you could flash freeze those vegetables right at the farm and take them to you. Sometimes I do believe, while there's nothing as delicious as fresh kale for a salad or fresh mushrooms for a saute. But if you're making a soup, frozen mushrooms from the Woodstock Company work perfectly, as do other frozen vegetables. I would, and maybe Patrick can bring this up to for us, is I would take a look at the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, and you can take a look at that. Just to make sure that you're on the right path of what you eat. I don't always eat organic, but I always look for the thing that will be the most nutrient dense for me. And I have some of those cleaners that I use on vegetables. So let's see. Can she get some information online? Should I buy non-organic? So that's totally up to you. I think you have to look at a couple of things. And we mentioned this a few weeks ago, is seeing the country of origin for the food that you're eating. I like to eat frozen Brussels sprouts from Whole Foods Market because they are grown in Brussels. And I don't like eating food from some countries because I don't necessarily trust not only their organic integrity, but just their basic food growing principles. So that is totally up to you. And Patrick, I see, has posted the information about the Dirty Dozen. And Patrick, I'm going to have to increase the strength of my eyeglasses because I'm used to having the computer screen so close to me. But thanks for tagging along with me here. What's the difference between baking and roasting? Well, how I understand it is that, for example, when you are roasting, let's say Brussels sprouts, they are usually on a sheet pan and they are exposed to heat and air that circulates in the oven, and that they will come out with a certain crispiness. And also you'll notice that they will caramelize beautifully and give you the sweetness that is in a lot of vegetables, and not just root vegetables like carrots, but also things like cauliflower and butternut squash. Roasting, that's roasting. Baking is that you're going to put them into a pan that's sort of like putting them into a football stadium, and they're going to cook on the field. So there is not as much direct heat. They might steam a little bit, and it will change the texture and the color of your vegetables. I always like to roast my vegetables. That's my preference, in a nice hot oven at 425 degrees. And I just have to tell a very quick oven story. So this morning, as I was preparing this lunch for 60 people at an urban farm in Philadelphia, and for those of you who are Plant Pro students, I always harken back to the benefits of doing the shindig, because the shindig is such a wonderful experience in terms of learning how to prepare food in bulk, how to plate food in bulk, and also to have people enjoy food. So yesterday I tested a sandwich that I made, and the roll got too soggy. So I decided that I would toast them in the oven. And then I did a test to see how it stood after an hour, and the texture was fine and it didn't fall apart. So this morning when I got up at 5 o'clock, I turned my oven on to 525 degrees to do sheet pan toasting of these whole wheat English muffins. And I kept thinking to myself, I am doing so well. I am right on schedule. Well, what happened was that every time I looked at the oven, I thought it was 5:25 a.m. instead of 5:25 degrees Fahrenheit. So maybe you had to be there with me. It turned out that it was 10 after 7. I had to leave my house in a couple of minutes, but I got everything done. Just a little oven humor, and also to talk about the benefits of doing the shindig. So let's see. Between barbecue, what's the difference between barbecuing and grilling? Barbecuing, you think about the people who live in Kansas who pride themselves on barbecuing, where they marinate and then smoke whatever that meat might be. Whereas grilling is you're taking any kind of protein or fruit or vegetable and putting it directly on heat. Usually, barbecuing is at a lower, slower temperature. That's how I understand it. And pressure cooking, let's see here. Why pressure cooking and pot roast are combination cooking methods? I'm not sure I understand the question, but for those of you who tune in regularly, most of you know that I gave my Instapot away. I love to hear Fran and her good friend Jill Nussenow talk about Instapots, but I'm not sure what you're meaning by pot roast or combination cooking methods. So, uh, oh, okay. Well, thank you. Patrick just whispered. Okay. This is from Kathleen. Ingrid, if you have any direct questions, email me. Uh, Kathleen C., I'm taking mashed potatoes to Thanksgiving dinner and would prefer to make them vegan. Is it possible to make them in advance and still have them be delicious for dinner? Okay. So I don't know how far your commute is, what you're traveling in, or whatever. So what I would do is I would make them however you make vegan mashed potatoes, and then I would put them in. I would put them in a cast iron pot if you have one that has a top to it, because cast iron retains heat better. Then, now bear with me here, I would put it into a double brown paper bag, and then I would close it shut and put it into a cooler. And this way you will retain the original heat. I'm not sure if you want to reheat them in an oven or if your host will be having a warming oven for you to use. But yes, what you could do is make a very small batch of the potatoes and see how they would do, being out on a countertop for a while. Uh, but I think that would work. I've taken mashed potatoes. There's nothing quite like eating them fresh out of your own kitchen, but in a pinch, they work beautifully. And I have a sense that when you make these beautiful vegan mashed potatoes, people will rave about them. So for those of you who visit friends and bring your vegan dishes, the vegan dishes are usually the things that are eaten and admired first. So good luck with those potatoes. Also, it depends on what kind of potatoes you're using. I don't know what kind of potatoes you're using. If you use something like a baked russet potato, they happen to love plant milk, vegan creams, vegan butters, and things like that. They'll just absorb all of the flavors and the fat in those products. So good luck and have fun and happy Thanksgiving. This is from Julie. She's a newbie to cooking without oil, and she is continually burning the bottom of her steel pots and pans. Best cleansing methods, and then soap and a soft scrubbing sponge are not working. So there's a couple of things you can do. I've had this for a long time, and it's been beaten up. But one of the things that you can do is soak it first and then add some white vinegar or freshly squeezed lemon from either a fresh lemon, or for cleaning, I buy that little fake plastic lemon that comes it's in the produce department that you would never use on food, but it's really good for cleaning. I would put the hot water, very hot water in here with the lemon juice, and then you take one dryer sheet and put the dryer sheet in there, and then put it back on the stove for about 5 minutes to a simmer. Take it off, walk away from it, come back later, and then when you lift up the dryer sheet, I'm going to say that about 85% of everything that was stuck to the bottom of your pan will be gone. And then that's when you would go back with either a gentle sponge or a little brush or something like that. I have a couple of microfiber sponges that work really, really well. So you might want to try that. Also, If you're burning the bottom of your pans, remember to do that mercury ball test first and make sure that your pan is not too hot from the bottom as well. So this works really well. So good luck and let us know how you make out. I'll be curious to to hear from you. So thank you so much and happy Thanksgiving. Um, do I have a recipe for making yogurt from cashew or almond milk? Not per se, but I have made almond milk and I have bought almond yogurt and use the top part of that as a starter. But I think it's pretty much something that you can Google easily. And making your own yogurt, you don't need a yogurt maker for it. You just need to have a nice slow, low oven, and that should work. So it's a good money saver if you're interested in eating plant-based yogurt, because unfortunately most of them come with sugar and fake preservatives and stuff, and even the plain ones have added oils to them as well. So good luck with that. So thanks so much for asking. My trip to Italy was so much fun, and I would say that it was life-changing. Two questions. Why is there no salt in Italian bread? And what are the herbs in Italian seasoning? Well, I can't answer the bread question. I stayed on a 400-year-old olive farm when I went to South Italy. And I watched them make bread every day. And I saw lots and lots of salt going into the bread. So I don't know, it might depend upon your particular baker. One thing I will say is that I went to a bread making class and no mixers were used, no blenders, everything was your hands. So maybe because things are manually made, I don't know. And what are the herbs in Italian seasoning? Well, you have oregano, you have basil, you have thyme, and rosemary. Those would be the four big ones. I may be forgetting one. I find it much easier just to buy the Italian seasoning that comes in a jar, or I just brought home from the farm today some freshly picked oregano, which has a rather pungent aroma, but smells really, really good. Thanks for your question, Chris, and it's good to see you. Do you have any, this is from William B. Do I have any suggestions for cooking with miso paste? Well, if you ever have the opportunity to go to H Mart, H Mart is the largest Asian grocery store chain in the world. And when you go to an H Mart, they have a whole entire miso section. Most people think that miso is just made from soy paste, but it can be made from garbanzo beans, all kinds of things. There's low sodium. You've got to read the labels. Some of them have alcohol and some of them don't. But I just yesterday, in fact, from Dr. Agarwal's book, I made a kale Caesar salad dressing that had miso in it. And if you ever follow Ann Esselstyn, she has two really fabulous mushroom gravy, and there is miso in them. So the miso adds a little bit of texture, and it also gives you that saltiness that you may be missing in some food if you're not adding salt to your diet. But it also helps the texture. Ann Esselstyn has two very good mushroom gravy recipes. One is called Mommy's Mushroom, and the other one is called Mommy's Mushroom Gravy 2.0. And 2.0 has cooking wine in it, and it kind of has a different flavor. I just make plain Mommy's. And the other important thing about miso paste is this: buy the smallest container that you can buy, because it's not something that you use regularly. And if it gets old or exposed to air, it loses some of the delightfulness in its flavor. So when I buy miso, I also date the bottom of that, because old miso can totally ruin a dish for you. So hope that helps. And there's also low sodium miso on the market. I know many of you are, cognizant about keeping your sodium levels in tow. So I hope that helps. So let's see. starting to feel the fact that I was up at 4 o'clock this morning. Sorry about that. Uh, and I think we answer this question from Ingrid yet? If you could choose only three major cooking tips that you would tell people, what would they be? Well, the first one is that, I love grading the no oil saute mushroom assignment because I always think at the end, after reading the summary, when a student describes how it worked for them, it lets me know that you have mastered this technique. And it's probably one of the most important techniques, especially if you're following either forks over knives or whole food plant-based no oil, a la Dr. McDougall or Dr. Esselstyn. So I would say no oil saute. And then I would say find three salad dressings that you love that are oil-free. So in our roster of salad dressings, the balsamic dressing is delicious. I like to add a little chia seed to it just to thicken it up a little bit. And to change up the color, I use a white balsamic so that it just looks cheerier. Because I know for people who aren't vegan, I have served a balsamic glaze and that people have asked if it's chocolate sauce. So maybe changing the color of that. So no oil saute, salad dressings, and master one or two desserts that you feel comfortable making that won't break the bank, so that your plant-based repertoire has three things that everybody likes. They like a delicious salad. They're going to love your no oil saute when you place it on a bed of pasta. And everybody loves dessert. And again, if anybody here has made the chocolate ganache torte, that is always a crowd pleaser. And if you don't do the pie part, you might want to make it into a mousse, which is another good suggestion. And this is where I always like to say, because I'm not a baker, but I always love going into the archives of Essential Vegan Desserts where Fran Costigan can kind of, walk you through becoming a master of cooking. So those would be my three things. And the other thing is just to relax and have fun. I think that experimenting and having fun and inviting neighbors over and other things like that is just another nice way to enjoy what it is that you do. So thanks, Ingrid. I really appreciate that. Can garlic be browned? I see there's a technique from Mexico. I can't read that word that they do this. So here's the thing about garlic. Garlic is a low water vegetable. So that's why it burns so quickly. Compare it to something like celery, which is loaded with water. And when you dry saute celery, it takes a really long time for it to brown. So I personally don't know this technique, but if you follow our way of cooking with onions or shallots and garlic and deglazing a pan, that's what I personally find that works best. I'm going to go research this, Ingrid. It sounds good. What makes it taste bitter? Well, when you burn it, you're creating a lot of carbon, and carbon is bitter. And that's why if you've seen the Rouxbe assignment where you slow cook the garlic and then you fast cook the garlic, and then you have two different glasses of water, one that looks like it is like a light yellow and one that can look as dark as the most bitter cup of coffee. So low and slow is the best way to cook garlic. And also using fresh garlic. I like to buy garlic that is either local or from Gilroy, California, which happens to be the garlic capital of the world. And I always feel like I'm getting a little bit of a juicier garlic and that it will add more pungency to a dish that I'm using. So you can brown garlic, by the way. You just want to do it at a very low heat and do it very slowly, and it will look really good. You're also going to start watching cooking shows a little bit differently, because you'll start to see that someone will put garlic in the pan first with hot olive oil, and then you're going to be like, oh my gosh. And then 5 seconds later, when they've made aglio olio, all you see are little black specks of garlic when in fact it shouldn't be that way. So just my soapbox talks about garlic. Um, do I have a favorite vegan chocolate you use for cooking and just to eat? Thanks. Um, I like the Enjoy Life brand for baking, because it's safe for all people. And I like the taste of it, and I forget what the percentage of it is. That would probably be a better question to ask Fran Costigan. And in terms of those candy bars, I just don't eat them because as the vegan world shifts, you know, 15 years or nearly 15 years ago when I became vegan, there were very few processed foods in terms of crossover foods like fake Oreos or whatever. But if you read the ingredient list, that's always a deterrent for me. So I'm trying to think. One of my friends asked me if I had the Reese's plant-based peanut butter cup, and the answer was no, because why would I want to eat that, for several reasons. But I don't think I have a favorite chocolate bar. But that's a good question. If you have a favorite, I would love to know. This is from Ingrid again. How do you clean mushrooms before using them? Well, when I get them home, I put them into a brown paper bag so they don't get slimy, and I put them in the refrigerator, to the back part of the refrigerator where you have the most constant temperature. And when it's time to clean them, I either use the tip of a kitchen towel, or I have a mushroom brush, which I always forget to use, but I do not wash them with water because I want them to stay as they are. And about a year ago, I interviewed a mushroom farmer, and her advice to me was brush them, keep them in the back of the fridge. And mushrooms can be very expensive. They're getting expensive as holidays come. P.S. If you're doing the mushroom assignment, do yourself a favor. Do not buy the pre-sliced mushrooms. Buy mushrooms whole. Better to buy them loose where you can select the ones that you want than buying the ones in the aerated cellophane bags or containers. Because this way, when you slice them, they will be fresh. They will not be brown and damaged, which can affect how you saute them, but also the flavor. So you always want to eat the freshest food that you can. So that's how I clean them, but always clean them because you want to get those little brown specks off. Oh gosh, I'm getting another happy belated birthday wish. Okay, this is a flour question being kept in the pantry. I keep mine in the freezer, and I don't buy remember how our moms would buy like a 5-pound bag of gold medal flour? But I can remember my mother being very busy in the kitchen making biscuits and all kinds of things. So I buy very small bags of flour. I usually buy Arrowhead Mills or something by Bob's Red Mill. And they come in 2-pound bags, and I keep them in the freezer. I date them, of course. And I couldn't tell you how long that they last, but I think that that's a good thing. So Janet has another question. After you cut the garlic and there's green, should that green be taken out? Does it make it bitter? Personally, I have never had that green, but when it does, I just throw it in the ground and hope that it will grow into a beautiful garlic scape for next year. I'm not sure of what the answer to that is. I'm sure that I just use everything. But anyway, it's a very good question. I'm sorry I don't know the exact answer. And this is from William B. back again. My nutritionist suggests eating 1 Brazil nut every day for selenium. She must have read that from Dr. Greger because he says the same thing. Do you have a suggestion for cooking a batch of them? You mean you want to roast them? Is that what you want to do? You can roast them in a pan on a low heat, or you can roast them on some parchment paper. I think that you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck eating them raw. And I think that you might want to check with your nutritionist, because that's what they may have meant. And, Brazil nuts are absolutely beautiful because they grow looking like an apple. And then when you look at that hard shell, there are 8 pieces of the Brazil nut in each round of the nuts. So it's kind of interesting to see, but I think you're going to eat them raw. Good question, though, William. And this is from Cheryl, who says, hello. Do I have any suggestions to make a pear and cranberry strudel? Wow. Well, I don't actually. I don't know what kind of dough you're using. And if you have made it before and you have enjoyed it, the one thing I do know about cooking with cranberries is that they do have a lot of liquid in them when you bake them. So this might be a question for you to direct to Chef Fran Costigan in our Essential Vegan Desserts program. I don't make those kind of baked goods. I try and stay away from them and make, healthy muffins and things like that. But I have to say that pear and cranberry sounds delicious. I do want to share with you one interesting thing, and I don't know if anyone saw this on our social media. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Rouxbe and at Rouxbe Plants. But until November the 27th at 11:59, there is a 50% off sale on all programs. So I don't know if you're looking for some gifting ideas, but that might be something to think about, or if you wanted to give yourself a gift. But Cheryl, I think I would send an email to student services, or I would show you Fran's book, but I'm using it right this minute to help elevate my computer a little bit. But thanks for the good question. I'm sorry that I can't answer it the way that would be of better benefit to you. So my apologies for that. And it looks like we have gone through, my goodness, so many questions. So we'll be putting up on social media some wonderful tips from our culinary team with tips to get through the holidays from starting on Thursday until January 1st, 2024. And most of all, you want to plan well. As Fran Costigan says, you want to relax, and that you also want to enjoy. Don't feel shy about delegating to a friend about bringing something to your house, but just enjoy everything. And remember that the best part about being plant-based is that people love sides, and they will eat tons and tons of sides. So with that, I bid everyone an adieu from the city of Philadelphia, and wishing everyone a really wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. And thank you so much for joining us today. Bye-bye now.